What's going on, everybody? It's your boy, the Doc, and I'm back for season 2 of Hobby Talk. Shout out to Pristine Auction. Once again, they doing their thing in the hobby. I love their movement. The way they utilize auctions and the things that they give us on that platform is 10 out of 10. And you already know, we bringing the code back, Hobby Talk, and now you get $25 off your first purchase. So make sure you utilize that code Hobby Talk. But before we get into this next interview that we have coming up for our season 2 of Hobby Talk, we got my guy Jeremy Lee. This guy here, I mean, if you don't know him, you're gonna know him today. One of the GOATs in Canada when it comes to content and just the hobby. He has spent a lot of time just learning about the hobby, being in the presence of this thing, and also just being a great individual. I love what he does. So I hope y'all love this interview. Y'all learn a lot from him. And once again, guys, make sure you utilize that code Hobby Talk to get $25 off your first purchase. Let's go. All right. So we're gonna go with my pristine auction item of the week. We got Tom Brady's piggy bank, the GOAT refractor 101, with it being in the case. Now, if you don't know, piggy bank is one of the guys that has been in the game for a while when it comes to card art. One of my first projects that I spent my money on getting into the hobby was Project 7. So card art has always been a thing for me. And I think if you want to get your hands on something that, might be considered the next Picasso in the future, you might want to get your hands on this. Tom Brady, Piggy Bank, the GOAT, Refractor 101, right now on Pristine Auction. Let's give him a round of applause, man. Welcome, welcome.
Thanks for having me, Daryl. It's nice to be here. Good to see you again, buddy.
Yeah. So I want to say the last time we was able to see each other, I believe, was at the Sports Car Expo. Yeah, we
Yes,
got to do a
sir.
lot. Not even on stage. I love what you was doing with eBay as well. Who you are in this hobby. Let the people know who you are. What do you look at yourself as, and so the people can get to know you a little bit more before we dive deeper in the conversation.
Hey, sure. I mean, I've been in the hobby for 45 years, collecting since I was a little kid, and I love it. The hobby's the hobby of my family. That's my life. And I did a lot of things throughout, but in terms of kind of having a platform and a presence, I started Sports Cards Live on YouTube in 2020, just before the pandemic really took hold, and I've grown it over the it's been it'll be 5 years in April since I first started that. And I interview lots of people throughout the hobby. I just changed the format of the show in November from a one-on-one interview style to now I bring on 5 or 6 guests over a 3-hour marathon every Saturday night. I like to think that Saturday night Sports Cards Live is the place to be.
Yeah,
And uh, I kind of see myself as somebody who, I love doing the content that I do. I love it. I enjoy it so much. I get so excited for Saturday nights, but I just try to inspire, educate, and entertain with authenticity and transparency. That's kind of my motto. And, I've built it into it is a business as well for me. I do have partnerships and sponsors, and I work closely with them. I work closely with Slab Sharks as a consignment director, bringing it, as a rep for people to
yeah.
help them with their decisions on what to sell, when to sell,
Hey,
and
shout out to Slab Sharks. Shout out to them, man.
yeah, yeah. So the hobbies, Daryl. Honestly, the hobby is it's outside of my family, the hobby is my life, and I wouldn't have it any other way.
That's a blessing. To be able to enjoy something that you truly love as well. I can tell because when I have one-on-ones with you, I leave with something. It's either a good conversation, you're breaking down, hey, you need to look into this, or adding you into my top five on Top Script with my articles. So it's like for you, I think with this vibe that I get, especially with you doing these series where you like you're live for like maybe 3 to 5 hours. I don't know, man. Especially at night, you talk. I don't know, man. Do you look at yourself as like the Jay Leno of the hobby? Maybe you know what I'm saying with your show. Like I'm gonna be honest with you. I've came in, I viewed in a few times. First off, the reels that you drop, some of that touched home to me. Not only that, the information that you're giving out. I love how you're live and it's almost like I'm watching ESPN or something of that nature. Like, okay, this card has about 5 minutes left on it. What you think is going to do? This card has 30 minutes on it. Like, I love how you bringing this aspect. How did that all come about in the hobby? Like, was
Yeah,
you just chilling one day and was like, hey, this is what I want to do?
yeah. So what you're talking about is another type of content. So Saturday nights are my flagship show, Sports Cards Live, interviews, discussions. I
Right.
also do auction coverage
Yes.
content as well. You know, branded shows for my partners like Fanatics Collect, MC Sports Cards, REA. I do shows for them as well. Fund Your Cards. So it's a great question because the MC Sports Cards show, MC Mondays, I do that once a month for their showcase auction,
Right.
and they'll have 60 cards ending a minute apart on Monday night. I'll have all the eBay tabs lined up and ready to go,
Yes.
and I watch the last 60 to 120 seconds of each auction with Michael Hathaway, who I call the Crystal Ball, and we call the action of the auctions, and I have a ton of fun doing that. So how that started, that's a great question.
Mm-hmm.
This goes back to probably February of 2021. I had already had Sports Cards Live going for close to a year, and I was heading down into my office at the time, my studio, to watch a whole bunch of cards end on eBay
Mm-hmm.
on the PWCC account because they used to have their monthly auctions there, and
Yeah.
hockey would end on Thursday. And I was, as I'm walking down the stairs into my basement towards my office studio, I thought to myself, well, I have an audience now with Sports Cards Live. Why don't I live stream myself, share watching these auctions end on eBay, and share my screen and just talk about it with people watching? I did that, and it was a very popular episode, and that was the beginning of what I now do for several companies covering auctions. And it was kind of just a stroke of luck, I suppose, that I had that thought in my mind as I was walking down the stairs that day.
Yeah.
And now, almost, well, it's basically 4 years later this month, and I've done, I don't know how many episodes of that, but it's turned into a business for me where I charge companies to do these shows for them, and I love it. It's a ton of fun, and I'm very authentic and honest about what I think of the cards. If there's a card that I don't like, I will say it. If there's a
Yes.
card with a faded autograph, I'll be like, I don't like this autograph, or an overgraded Gretzky rookie. I will say, like, there's something wrong here, guys. I'm not feeling this card. I advise you, maybe I wouldn't be bidding on this one. I feel bad for my partner, but I lose my audience if I'm not honest and authentic. So that's that's a lot of fun and a big part of what I do.
And that's why I brought you here. First of all, you true, you authentic, you real, you keep it just what we call it 100. And that's the notion that I get from you. And also I want everyone that's looking, make sure you check out his content because it's going to educate you on something. Now, I want to talk about a little bit of hockey. I do see basketball in your background a little bit. Um,
Yeah.
Ooh, so I saw Julius Irving last night at the Hawks game. It was Wemby and Trey Young. Yeah, we able to see him. I like you got greats back there. Wilt Chamberlain, Mickey Mantle, Bill Russell. Yeah, yeah. To the young ones, upgrade yourself a little bit. Know these legends back there. Tell us about you and hockey. And I also want to know and let the viewers know what's your first love? Cause like I said, I see basketball back there, but when I see you at the show, it's hockey. It's a lot of hockey, and you're acknowledging me, or what I would say, put me on game on a lot of hockey. So feel free to express that.
Yeah, my first love as far as the four major sports,
Yeah.
the four major professional North American sports is hockey. I grew up, I'm in Canada. I'm Canadian. I've lived here my whole life. And so I grew up going to hockey games from the mid to late 70s as a little kid with my dad to, moving to Calgary where I live now in 2002, becoming a fan of the Flames here and going to games about 8 to 10 games a season here. Hockey's my number one, but and my collection is probably 90% hockey,
Mm.
but I have to say, Daryl,
Hmm.
my number one love is probably vintage baseball. I love it. I love
Wow.
my vintage baseball collection. I've been working on it for decades, and I think it's because I love the history. I love the way that baseball ties into Americana. I love the way hockey ties into Canadiana as well. But there's just so many, and I don't want to discount the vintage hockey cards. I actually feel, Daryl, that
Hmm.
the baseball hobby and the hockey hobby are probably the strongest two, because hockey has cards going all the way back to 1910, baseball of course, then and earlier, and baseball is America's pastime,
Yep.
hockey's Canada's pastime, and I think that the percentage of collectors in those two sports are so passionate and loyal, and they love the history. And I know there are great collectors in basketball and football as well. I collect those sports too.
Hmm.
I just think that you know we see and we hear about so many more, uh just the flipping game, which I don't have any disrespect for. I like the flipping game, but I think there's just more, you know transient collectors in or hobbyists in baseball, in football and basketball.
Yeah.
And not that baseball and hockey don't have them, but again, I just think that the foundations are the strongest in hockey and baseball. That's my sense.
Are you looking to sell your collection? Well, guess what? You can co-sign your collection with Pristine Auction. For a limited time, Hobby Talk fans pay no commission for 90 days and as well get 110% on high value cards. You're talking about quick payouts and lower fees. And if very interested, make sure to email sales@pristineauction.com and make sure to mention Hobby Talk. And for buyers, you can utilize the code Hobby Talk to get $25 off your first win. Yeah, sorry. Me personally, I'm gonna have to agree with you. To me, when I first got into just the hobby, like through my father, it was definitely baseball. Mark McGuire,
Mhm.
Sammy Sosa, King Griffey Jr. What a time to be alive, baby. Man,
Oh,
oh my God. I could remember um, watching the news or seeing someone read the newspaper. And, I'm being from St. Louis, seeing Mark McGuire. I don't care if he was on
mhm.
steroids at all. I just wanted a show. To me personally, I think, and they talk about the steroids era. Regardless, you have to have good eye coordination in order to hit a ball coming your way at least 90 to
Mhm.
100 plus miles per hour at the end of the day. I don't care what you do, what you take. And that was just my best time when it comes to baseball. But that's something I would never forget. Basketball, it's maybe a favorite like Kobe or something of that or the Lakers, the usuals. But I think everyone can go back and say, okay, maybe they're a fan of the Pirates. You got Paul Skeens now just going crazy. I've never seen this many Pirate fans. So for me, I think baseball was regardless always going to be around. For some reason, me and you agree. I think other people may disagree with us with saying soccer. I think just soccer is
Mhm.
maybe more popular, but I'm not sure about within the hobby and the collecting portion. There may be a bigger audience than basketball, football, baseball, hockey. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, soccer is huge worldwide, globally, and soccer is also something that all you need is a ball to play. You can find two trees to make a goal net, and you know, hockey is tough. You need an ice rink, you need nets, sticks, pucks, pads. It's very expensive to play for kids, so that might be part of the reason why it lags behind baseball, football, basketball in the North American hobby, while in Canada, obviously, it's the dominant force. But yeah, soccer is huge, and it's penetrating card shows north and south of the border between Canada and the U.S. It's everywhere, and even wrestling and UFC stuff, and of course the whole world of TCG is
Hmm.
becoming kind of part and parcel with sports cards and shows and the hobby. But yeah, the hobby's just so much fun, and even like I said, I've been hobbying since 1980. I think I saw my first sports cards in 1979,
Wow.
and I remember at my cousin's house, and even at this point, 45 years into being in the hobby, and I've always been in the hobby. I had a card shop, an LCS from 1991 to
Okay.
94, right when I was going to university, and but even 45 years in, Daryl, I'm still discovering new cards, new sets, often from the 90s. There's so many hidden treasures from the
Yep.
90s. And different, within different sports. I just love it. It seems like it's just an endless chasm of goodness,
Y-
the hobby.
yeah, yeah. I agree with you on that. I feel like for me, when I really started spending my hard earned money on the hobby, not just my dad passing me down cards.
Mhm.
I it was that thrill of like I would buy this Kobe or this auto, and when I think it's enough, it's not enough. I see something more that I want, and it's crazy. I had to get out of that loop. I was in that loop for like 3 years. I kind of stood back and was like, let me digress for a second. I spent a lot of money in this hobby, but for you, what has been like your point of your life in this whole hobby where you was like, wow. Um, I think I need to digress a little bit. Was there ever a time where you like, oh man, I may have spent too much on this one, or I should
Yeah.
have
Oh
thought
yeah.
twice. Like, is there a few of them out there where you like, dang?
Oh yeah. Yeah, yeah. First, I just want to say first, that, and this is sort of related to what you said
Yeah,
earlier, but you can have your eyes set on a card and you really want it, and maybe you forget to bid, or you get outbid, or someone buys it before you do. One thing I always say to people who are upset by things like that is there's always more cards
I
to buy.
swear.
First of all, there's always more cards, so don't sweat it. Do we really need them? Sometimes I
Yeah,
guess there
yeah.
are some cards we need, right?
That's the love.
And if it's a very rare card, I'm sorry that you didn't get it, but there's always more cards to buy. But to your next
Yeah,
question, yeah, like I remember it was back in 2007. I was surfing on eBay, and I decided to look at Mickey Mantle rookie cards. So I found this 1951 Bowman Mickey Mantle rookie. It's in a PSA 6 holder, and it was ending like in 3 or 4 minutes from the moment I discovered it, the auction. And I was like, that's a beautiful card. I think that's awesome. That's his one and only true rookie card. No disrespect to the 52 tops, which I have a painting of just behind me on the
right.
wall. And I had no time to do any research looking at what they'd sold for. So I just bid, and I won the card. And I think at the time, I paid, it was like $6,600, which was a lot of money for me at the time. Still is a lot of money, probably more money to me now than it was then. A lot of money to me. And I didn't even research it, Daryl. After I had won the auction, I then researched, and I'm like, oh, these things are selling for like $5,000, and I just paid $6,600. Oh no, what did I do? Well, I kind of forgot about it didn't forget about it. I bought the card. It arrived. I put it in my collection, and I didn't really think about it back then. I wasn't thinking about values so
Mm,
much. So I just put it away. And like, I don't know, it was probably 5 years later when I was like, hey, I wonder what that mantle's worth nowadays. So I went and I looked, and I'm seeing, oh, these are selling for $16,000 now, and I was like, oh, okay. I remember being a little bit stressed or feeling that I paid too much 5 years ago, but here we are now, and 5 years later, and the card is more than doubled in value. And so that really put my mind at ease from a financial wastage perspective or
Right.
whatever. And it also let me know that, you can, if you are buying cards for significant money, whatever that means to you, and you are going to pay more than anyone's ever paid before. So maybe you're setting an all time high as the buyer.
Yes.
If you're buying good quality cards of good quality players, you're probably not going to regret that for long. It's likely only a matter of time before that card's value catches up to what you paid, and even then some. And of course, you have to be buying at the right time. If you bought at the peak of the pandemic, you're still waiting for that to happen.
True.
But in most cases, I think that if you're buying good players and good cards, and it's all subjective, of course, but as far as the hobby recognizes these things, you're probably going to be okay in the long run.
I like that. First of all, great advice. Because I think some of us have all been there. Where we're like, man, should have thought twice on that. Now, I want to ask you another question, which I guess you could say the opposite side of it. And I want to explain to you my situation first. Now, I want you to give me yours. I've seen a card years ago that I did not see again. It has not popped up, and I'm so mad that I lost the bid maybe by like $1 or two. It was a Kobe Bryant Pop One autograph. I try to collect a lot of Pop Ones if I come across it, and it was the base card of his medal, and it was autographed. And I was like, I need that. I think it sold for maybe like 1,100, 1,200 at the time. It's like 4 years ago. And I have not seen that card pop back up since then. I've been looking and I've been searching. I know what the autograph looked like. It has the Kobe 8, it's PSA, it's graded. I think it's like a 7 or an 8, but it's Pop 1. I'm so mad at the fact that I was not able to get that card. That's one of the cards where I just truly regret. And probably my first buy, which was like a Fab Floor Auto and graded PSA 10, sent it to Golden. Never came back because it's sold. So I never did see it in that PSA 10, but I knew I had a 10 in hand. Is there a card? Is there a card
Hmm.
for you that you feel like, man, I missed out on and never seen it again?
Well, I have a couple stories I could tell on that. I'll
Uh huh.
keep it quick. Uh, about this is probably goes back to 2014 or 13. The 1933 Gaudi Babe Ruth, the standing batting pose card of the four. A PSA 7 copy was offered to me by a very close person in my life who owned it. And it was like $7,000 that he wanted for the
Mm,
card. And I was like, I was a bigger fan of the yellow background card, so I was like, I'm okay. So he sold it, got $7,500 for it, and now that card's probably a six-figure card. So from a value perspective, I'm like, damn, I wish I would have pulled the trigger on that card for 7 grand, because fast forward, 10 years later to last August, I bought a PSA 1 copy of the card for about that same amount of money. A beautiful copy, by the way, a beautiful one. It's my favorite card in my whole collection. But that's, imagine if I could have the same card, but from a PSA 1 to a PSA 7 for the same money. That would have been that's a card I regret not purchasing from a financial perspective. Another story, I collect a set from 2013 National Treasures
mm-hmm.
hockey. It's the number patches paralleled, where the cards are numbered to the player's
Yeah.
jersey number, and it's a parallel set to the base set. So I think there's 97 cards in the whole set, because it was a 100 card base set, but 3 players Panini didn't have memorabilia for, so they didn't make card them. Anyway, there was a card, 3 cards in the set are one of ones, because the players wear number one, and one of them was the goaltender Roberto Luongo. And this card was up on eBay, and I thought at the time when I was buying all these cards for the set, I thought, this it should sell for maybe $300. Maybe $300, maybe 400 max. With like 2 seconds left, I went to snipe the auction. I put in a bid of $1,111.11 to make sure that I was going to get
Yeah.
that card. Like a mega bid, right? Well, lo and behold, I put in my bid, the eBay app, it turns over, and what do I see? You've been outbid. $1,126.11, and the auction was over. So me and another guy or gal
Sure.
had the same mindset. We're both going to come in with a huge bid to buy this card. Well, the card that should have sold for a max of $400, I guess I caused the other guy to spend
Right.
$1,126 on it. And I was devastated that I didn't get the card. I was glad I didn't have to pay
Yeah.
$1,000 for it, but I was devastated that I didn't, because it's a key card for this whole set that I'd been working on. And, it's a 97 card set. And I still to this day need one of those one of ones. But so I was devastated, Daryl. Couple years
Mm-hmm.
later, the card the card sells again on eBay, and I don't even see it. Like I find out after it sold for like
Wow.
$450. I'm like, well, that guy took a big loss, and I was devastated again. But lo and behold, whatever, 12, 18 months later, the card gets listed on eBay at auction, and I have it on my watch list. And there's no way at this point,
Yeah.
Daryl, that I am not
Yeah.
buying this card. I put in another mega bid. I don't remember how much, and I ended up winning it for like $220. So what I would have paid $1,100 for, a few, however
Right.
many years earlier, I ended up getting for $200. So maybe not answer the exact stories
Yeah.
you're looking for, but those were a couple of my fun
No,
experiences.
definitely. I love you sharing this because it makes the hobby more well-rounded. People miss out on things that they always wanted. I've seen things that I've never seen or saw again from like 3 to 4 years ago. So it's interesting that you tell these stories. You have been nothing but an awesome guest, and I wanted to see if you can let the people know where can they find you.
I appreciate it. Thanks for inviting me on. So my YouTube channel is called Sports Cards Live, and Saturday nights is the flagship show with guests, and we just talk about various hobby topics. And then I do other shows throughout the week and the month. And Instagram, I am at JLEE underscore Sports Cards Live, and those are my two main places. I have an account on Twitter, and there's a Facebook page for Sports Cards Live as well, but YouTube and Instagram are where I spend most of my social
Nice.
media time.
Make sure y'all go find him right after this episode. Go check him out. Go see what he's about. I hope to see you soon in Canada. And my brother, thank you for being on. Shout out to Pristine Auction, my sponsor. All right, guys, that's it for this week episode. Once again, thank you, Jeremy Lee, for hopping on. Your presence on this episode was definitely needed. I hope a lot of y'all learned something from him, especially when it comes to sports cards and the hobby market in Canada. Make sure you utilize that code Hobby Talk and make sure you pull up for the next episode. It's your boy, the Doc. I'm out.